The CEO instructed a young farmer to find someone intelligent. He was completely unaware that the kid was on the verge of rescuing his million-dollar machine while simultaneously shattering his pride. It is often said that silence can resonate with a powerful intensity. On that day in Des Moines, it howled. Greencore Industries was set for a significant occasion, an outdoor product demonstration designed to showcase their latest range of smart agricultural machinery. The newest model, an AI-enhanced combine harvester that had been flown in from their Texas facility, features self-adjusting technology. In tailored suits, executives strode along the gravel by the test field, cradling cups of lukewarm coffee, as a cluster of local farmers observed from the sidelines, arms crossed and expressions filled with skepticism. Investors gathered beneath the pop-up tents, clipboards in hand and sunglasses perched on their noses, feigning comprehension of the soil beneath them. At the heart of it all was Douglas Whitmore, the CEO of Greencore. Tailored grey suit, luxurious, timepiece, and a voice that sliced through the atmosphere with precision. He had an aversion to the heat. He had an aversion to the dust. He was certainly not fond of delays. The combine initiated its scheduled operation, then stumbled momentarily. A harsh mechanical wheeze erupted from its side, followed by a resounding metallic clunk. The machine lurched ahead a few more feet before coming to a halt, lifeless in the dust. For a brief moment, all eyes were fixed in silence. Some adjusted their stance. One of the investors released an uncomfortable chuckle, yet Whitmore remained unfazed. "What on earth just occurred?" he shouted, gesturing towards one of his engineers. The man, perhaps in his late 30s, took a deep breath and hurried over to the side panel. He pressed the control screen, disconnected a device, and then reconnected. At silence, Whitmore marched ahead with determination. This item came with a price tag exceeding $1.2 million. What's preventing it from running? The engineer hesitated, mumbling something regarding a software calibration problem, yet Whitmore was not interested in justifications. He glanced over at a nearby cluster of local workers, a mix of teenagers, and farmhands who had gathered to assist with the setup. He pointed at a lanky boy in mud-stained overalls and said, "You, seek out someone capable of repairing this frustrating issue. It doesn't matter if it's your uncle, your cousin, or even your dog. Simply bring in a professional who understands the task at hand." The young lad blinked, then took a step ahead. "I can fix it," he said, his tone steady and nonchalant. His voice wasn't loud, yet it sliced through the murmuring crowd with the precision of a knife through ripe fruit. Whitmore's gaze sharpened. "Excuse me? I assured you I can resolve this, sir." The audience shifted their gaze in his direction. He must have been no older than 17. His boots were encrusted with grime. Grease marks streaked across the sleeves of his checkered shirt. Yet his gaze remained unwavering, filled with assurance. Whitmore let out a brief, mirthless chuckle. "Kid," he remarked, shaking his head, "this isn't just a broken-down lawnmower sitting behind your barn. It's an extraordinary piece of technology, boasting integrated AI and advanced 4D terrain mapping capabilities. Seek out an individual who excelled in high school shop class." The young lad remained still. He merely cast his gaze downward at the machine. He inquired gently, "May I take a glance regardless?" Yet Whitmore was unprepared for the revelation this young one was about to unveil. Caleb Morgan, a 17-year-old, had just wrapped up his junior year, yet he was already juggling morning shifts before school and evening work afterward. The townspeople were familiar with the Morgans, a straightforward family who preferred their own company, tended to a modest piece of land just beside County Road 58, quite unremarkable, only sufficient to cover the expenses, provided the rain arrived as scheduled. Caleb was not one to engage in lengthy conversations. He didn't stand out with boisterousness like the other kids, didn't flaunt. I didn't plead for recognition, but place a broken engine before him, and he sparkled with excitement like a dazzling firework display on the 4th of July. It was said that he inherited it from his father, Ezekiel. Ezekiel Morgan was a name that lingered in your mind if you had spent even a brief moment in the ag-tech realm. A decade or a decade and a half ago, he was the emerging luminary in the realm of precision farming technology. An ingenious mechanical engineer with a knack for crafting hydraulic systems from discarded materials, achieving a level of performance that surpasses factory-made components. No formal education, no large prestigious company backing him. Pure talent and a mind that perceives machinery as others perceive digits or musical scores. He received invitations to prestigious summits, was presented with lucrative buyout offers, and faced persistent requests to join influential think tanks. And then, in an instant, he was gone. Rejected millions, turned my back on everything. He gathered his family and purchased a quaint farm just outside Des Moines. Rumor had it he experienced a disagreement with several executives on a particular board. Bridges incinerated to the point of no return, leaving no path for anything to traverse them once more. He devoted his days to restoring vintage tractors, assisting his neighbors, and imparting all his knowledge to his son. The shed in the backyard appeared to be nothing more than a jumble of corrugated metal and bolts at first glance. Yet within, it was a realm of intricate mechanisms, circuits, tables strewn with tools, and a partially disassembled combine engine they had been enhancing. Collaboratively for months, Caleb was far from an ordinary farm kid tinkering with machines. He could effortlessly outline a hydraulic relay system even in his dreams. He had crafted his own firmware updates on a vintage laptop that was missing a key. He grasped the intricacies of the technology. He sensed it. And that's why, when the green core machine froze in front of all those investors and Whitmore brushed him off like he was an insignificant nuisance, Caleb remained unfazed. He remained calm. He chose not to engage in a dispute. He casually inquired, "May I have a glance?" Whitmore sighed dramatically and glanced over at his assistant. "All right, allow him to explore freely. Perhaps the wretched contraption will spring to life out of sheer sympathy." Caleb took a moment, then stepped forward with purpose. A soft murmur spread among the gathering. A few of the seasoned engineers appeared displeased, others intrigued. Caleb knelt next to the machine, deftly retrieving a compact multi-tool from his back pocket. He slid open the side panel with a gentle touch, as if he were intimately familiar with the precise spots to apply pressure. He examined the wiring, inspected the module ports, his fingers dancing swiftly yet purposefully. One of the Green Corps engineers murmured, "This is going to be a joke." Another remarked, "The child is going to shock himself." Yet Caleb existed in a realm of his own. He disconnected one line, attached it to a different port, pressed a reset button for 10 seconds, and switched a small toggle on the servo controller. He rose to his feet. "Give it a go," he urged. The engineer paused, uncertainty flickering in their eyes. "Proceed," Caleb reiterated. The man stepped into the cab, turned the key, and with a smooth hum, the engine roared to life. The enormous front reel spun around. The screen shimmered with a green hue. A steady mechanical cadence permeated the atmosphere. Once more, silence enveloped the scene. Yet, on this occasion, it felt anything but awkward. It was astonished. Whitmore's eyes fluttered, open. One of the investors leaned in closer. Did that young genius just repair a prototype in 5 minutes? A different engineer examined the control screen once more, followed by a thorough inspection of the wiring. He circumvented the standard firmware verification, redirected the power circuit. I had no idea that could be achieved with this model. Caleb took a step back, casually wiping his hands on his jeans. Whitmore cleared his throat, a subtle prelude to the words he was about to share. "Could you remind me of your name once more?" "Caleb Morgan." Whitmore furrowed his brows. "Is that you, Morgan? Is that you, Morgan?" Yet he remained unaware of Caleb's true identity and the nature of the error he had committed long ago. Whitmore stepped closer, his eyes narrowing, as if he were attempting to peer into the depths behind. Caleb's expression. "Morgan," he repeated, this time with more deliberation. "Are you connected to Ezekiel Morgan?" Caleb hesitated before responding. There was no necessity for him to do so. The stillness spoke volumes to him. One of the investors, a short man in a polo adorned with an embroidered hedge fund logo, murmured, "Wait, is he that Morgan?" Another fellow murmured in response, "The one who gave the Green Corps board the finger and strolled off." I believed he had vanished. Caleb glanced upward, neither self-satisfied nor haughty, simply composed. "He is my father." Whitmore's lips parted, yet silence enveloped him. In the past, long before Green Corps utilized satellites to monitor soil density or employed drones for crop inspections, they operated as a significantly smaller entity. In those days, Ezekiel Morgan was the one they showcased like a prized possession, a brilliant mind, an unconventional figure who conjured wonders with technology. However, Ezekiel refrained from engaging in political maneuvering. He was indifferent to investor dinners and unconcerned with cutting costs if it jeopardized performance. Upon discovering that Green Corps was compromising the integrity of a control system he had meticulously crafted, substituting essential materials with inferior components to enhance short-term profits, he responded with unwavering determination. He dispatched internal emails, sounded the alarm in meetings, and when his warnings went unheeded, he released the schematics, not to harm the company but to alert the farmers, the individuals who would be operating those machines in their fields, whose safety relied on those controls functioning as intended. Green Corps attempted to put a positive spin on the situation, claiming the schematics were outdated and attributing the issue to confusion during development. However, Whitmore, who had recently assumed the CEO position at that time, felt it deeply. He ensured that Ezekiel was excluded from all opportunities. Every prominent ag-tech company received the directive: avoid hiring him, steer clear of any association, and refrain from even mentioning his name. Ezekiel accepted it without resistance. He departed, neither a lawsuit nor a press tour. He gathered his tools, acquired several acres of land, and invested all his efforts into nurturing his son properly, instructing him in the traditions of the past and the innovations of the present, ensuring that someone is equipped with the knowledge to improve upon it. At this moment, someone had just rescued Whitmore's demo in front of a significant portion of the Midwest's agricultural elite. Whitmore has at last discovered his voice. "Is your father still with us?" Caleb gave a single nod. Indeed, he is at home, most likely addressing the irrigation system. A peculiar moment unfolded then. Whitmore remained silent. He offered no apology, failed to express gratitude to him. He glanced at his assistant and whispered something quietly. Caleb had the opportunity to revel in his triumph, to bask in the glory of his success. Yet he chose not to. He simply turned and began to walk away. "Wait a moment," one of the engineers shouted. "What exactly did you do? How did you come to know about that fix?" Caleb glanced over his shoulder and gave a nonchalant shrug. "A voltage drain is present in your auxiliary power relay. When the device overheats rapidly in direct sunlight, it pulls from the incorrect port and halts the operating system's startup. The logic in the failsafe check is reversed, changed it to bypass and redirected the fallback to the manual override." The engineer simply gazed in silence. Another investor murmured, "That child just articulated a firmware-level problem in straightforward language." Caleb offered a faint smile. "That's the way my father showed me. If you can't break it down for someone with dirt under their nails, you haven't grasped it fully yourself." That line resonated. Several individuals even acknowledged with a nod. As the crowd began to redirect their focus towards the machine, Whitmore was already concocting a different scheme. Once the crowd settled and the machine hummed smoothly as if it had never faltered, Whitmore retrieved his phone. His assistant moved closer. "What comes next?" she inquired softly. Whitmore's jaw tightened. "It's essential that we have a conversation." "With Ezekiel?" She arched an eyebrow. "Are you certain?" "Previously, just the two of you. I am aware of the events that transpired previously. Simply locate a number or a location. Something intriguing." However, another individual arrived ahead of time. Caleb had already sent a message to his dad. He didn't send a lot, simply resolved it. He was present. At the Morgan farm, Ezekiel lingered in the doorway of the shed. The very place where he and Caleb dedicated years to reconstructing engines, boards, and even transforming an old planter into an autonomous marvel, all for the sheer joy of it. He glanced at the message, then tucked the phone away into his pocket and cleaned his hands on a rag. He was not angry. He was completely unfazed. He had always anticipated this moment. A black SUV soon appeared, making its way up the gravel driveway that evening. The tires stirred up a fine, chalky dust that gently settled on the porch steps. Ezekiel sat outside, a well-loved ball cap perched on his head, a thermos cradled in. One hand, his eyes reflecting a serene stillness. Whitmore emerged, solitary on this occasion. He approached slowly, almost warily, as if he were nearing something that could snap at any moment. Ezekiel. Douglas. It had been almost 12 years since they last exchanged words, neither a call nor a message nor even a whisper of news. Only quietude. Whitmore removed his sunglasses and surveyed the unassuming house, the expansive fields and the weathered grain cart, now rusting beside the barn. He murmured, as if to no one in particular, "You truly left it all behind." Ezekiel gave a slight nod. There wasn't really anything of value to remain for. Whitmore rubbed the nape of his neck thoughtfully. "Your guys got your mind covered. Improved," Ezekiel remarked. "You didn't have to go through the same unlearning process that I did." A moment of stillness hung in the air. Whitmore settled onto the porch rail, one hand casually draped over his knee. "Listen, regarding that time, the board believed you were—" "Stop right there," Ezekiel interrupted, his tone resolute. "Don't shift the responsibility, like scattered pieces in a toolbox. You were aware of their actions. You accepted it without resistance. I made an attempt to resolve the issue. You attempted to conceal it." Whitmore remained silent. He confessed that he did. "We faced intense pressure from our investors. I opted for profit." Ezekiel remained expressionless. There was no frown present. Whitmore gazed across the expanse of the field. "His appearance today took me by surprise. He failed to appear. He simply acted in accordance with what was just. Something shatters. He repairs it. Uncomplicated. That lesson came from you." Ezekiel replied, "No." Life unfolded. Another moment of silence lingered. Then Whitmore shifted his gaze in his direction. "I would like to extend an invitation to him. Apprenticeship. Perhaps an accelerated path once he completes his education. Complete scholarship available if he chooses to pursue his studies. He possesses a unique quality." Ezekiel took a sip from his thermos, completely at ease. "Perhaps he does, but that choice isn't yours to determine." Whitmore offered a faint smile. "Are you going to intervene? What would motivate me to do that?" Ezekiel rose, deliberate and measured. "He is aware of what you did to me." He continued to assist you. "I didn't bring him up to harbor resentment. You nurtured him in a way that surpassed our worthiness." Ezekiel stared intently into Whitmore's eyes. "I taught him to understand the distinction between respect and recognition." However, what followed was beyond Ezekiel's control, as Caleb had already chosen his path. The following morning, Caleb found himself in the very field where it all unfolded. The device had vanished. Returned to Greencore's facility for analysis and additional refinement. What could that possibly signify? Yet the excitement lingered on. There was a buzz of conversation all around, in the feed store, at the diner, and even during church that Sunday. Whitmore issued an official statement that evening, describing Caleb as a promising young intellect poised for a future in agricultural innovation. He offered little beyond that, yet people could discern the underlying meaning. Caleb sensed the inevitable approach. When his dad entered the kitchen with a freshly printed letter from Greencore's HR department, he appeared unfazed. Ezekiel mentioned that they are providing a full scholarship. Education costs, accommodation, all of it. They are looking for you to intern in R&D next summer. Caleb paused, silence enveloping the moment. He continued to gaze at the untouched toast before him. "Do you desire it?" his father inquired. Caleb gave a nonchalant shrug. "I'm uncertain." "Why?" "Not indeed. I'm uncertain whether it's genuine or merely a tactic to improve their reputation following yesterday's events." Ezekiel inclined his head with deliberation. He was straightforward. "It's likely that they are." That took Caleb by surprise. "So you believe I ought not to accept it?" "I never said that," his father responded. "However, I would like you to consider this. What significance do you wish your creations to hold? Not belonging to them. Yours truly." Caleb glanced at the letter, his eyes drawn to the sleek logo in the corner. in the polished, professional language. "They didn't even offer an apology," he muttered. Ezekiel let out a soft chuckle. "Listen, son, individuals like Whitmore, they never express regret openly. They express regret by seizing chances. It doesn't justify the situation. That's just their way of doing things." A lengthy silence hung in the air before Caleb finally spoke. "Up." He appeared anxious when he recognized my identity. "Excellent," Ezekiel replied without a moment's pause. "He ought to be. But what if I go there and they simply take advantage of me? Showcase me as a brilliant mind hailing from the humble paths of Iowa." Ezekiel inclined his body, eager and attentive. "Then you reveal your true self. It's more than just your origins. It's not solely about your upbringing. Reveal your true self to them. In reality, you repaired that machine in just 5 minutes, and they still can't quite grasp how you accomplished it. That is strength. They will rely on you far more than you could ever rely on them." That marked the first instance of Caleb's smile throughout the entire morning. Later that week, he submitted his response. Concise, courteous, and straightforward. "I will accept the scholarship, but I am entering as my true self, not as part of your public relations strategy." He didn't receive an immediate response. However, just a few days later, an envelope arrived in the mail. No elaborate logos, simply a note penned by hand. Just a couple of lines. "You have secured your position and perhaps I underestimated your father. D.W." Caleb glanced at it briefly, then tucked it away into a drawer in silence. Later that night, while most kids his age were lost in their phones or debating prom dates, he found himself in the shed, meticulously rewiring the guidance system on an old Harvester GPS panel. His father labored alongside him. Quiet yet there. No accolades, no festivities, simply focus on the task at hand, as it had always been. However, Green Corps still had more in store for him, and someone in that company recognized potential in Caleb that he himself had yet to uncover. 3 weeks later, a dark vehicle appeared once more. Yet it was not Whitmore this time. The individual who emerged appeared to be younger, perhaps in their late 30s, neat and polished haircut, beige blazer, bright white sneakers, not a local. His gaze lingered on the gravel driveway, as if it posed a threat. Darius Kenner, the Vice President of Advanced Systems at Green Corps, made his introduction. Ezekiel encountered him at the boundary of the property. Darius exhibited a courteous demeanor while being straightforward. "My purpose here is for Caleb. Ezekiel mentioned that he's in the shed. If you're planning to distract him with more shiny objects, it would be best to hold off until he completes his current task." Darius wore a sly grin. He always found pleasure in that. From the very moment he lifted the lid of a toolbox, Darius lingered in anticipation. I observed several crows foraging in the field. "Would you be open to me asking you a question?" he remarked. Ezekiel gave a nonchalant shrug. "Feel free to inquire. What kept you from returning? What transpired afterward? You might have opted for the payout, confronted the board, launched your own business." Ezekiel cast his gaze toward the shed. I realized that by creating something substantial, something enduring, I no longer needed to engage in a battle that had lost its significance. Darius nodded, as if he grasped the concept, yet his comprehension was superficial. Caleb emerged at last, his hands being dried on a rag. "Are you Darius?" "Indeed. I observed the demonstration footage and reviewed the sensor logs. You went beyond merely fixing it. The routing logic has been enhanced. The proposed change has been submitted for inclusion in our upcoming OS update." Caleb mentioned that he wasn't attempting to address the Green Course firmware. "I was attempting to prevent your machine from coming to a halt in the midst of a field. That's precisely the reason for my presence." Darius retrieved a folder. Within lay blueprints and snippets of code. "We have a prototype that only a select few in the company are allowed to handle. Advanced self-operating farming equipment, absent a steering wheel, all AI, requires intellect, not merely dexterity. Your presence on the team is essential to me, not in the coming year, at this moment." Caleb's eyes fluttered open. "I haven't even completed my studies yet." "A degree isn't necessary when you possess the knowledge to instruct those creating the textbooks." Caleb hesitated before responding. Ezekiel took a step back, allowing his son the space to ponder. Darius refrained from applying any pressure on him, simply stated the decision is yours. This goes beyond public relations. I am not Whitmore. I create and construct various projects. I believe you are the genuine article. He passed the folder to Caleb and began to walk away. The deadline is now available. Reach out to me when you're prepared. That evening, Caleb settled onto the porch, perusing the papers. The designs were stunning, chaotic, unfiltered, incomplete, yet they were full of vitality. Ezekiel emerged and settled next to him, leisurely sipping from his thermos as he always did. Are you considering giving a positive response? I'm uncertain. It's all I've ever dreamed of. So what's holding you back? Caleb gazed contemplatively across the expanse of the field. I don't want to merely clean up their chaos. I aspire to create something uniquely mine, an option within our reach, something that comes together here, more than mere words on a page. Ezekiel gave a slight nod. Perhaps that marks the beginning of it all. Discover their methods. Gather what you require. Let it be. If you were in my position, would you consider going back? Ezekiel remained silent for an extended period. I won't return, he finally declared. Yet, I would press on. Simply not oblivious. Caleb pondered over that for a moment. The following day he reached out to Darius. I'll take care of it, he stated. However, there is just one stipulation. What is that? You don't regard me as a prized possession. I was assigned to a team. You present me with challenges to tackle, authentic individuals. If I notice something amiss, I speak up, and you pay attention. Darius acted without a moment's pause. Completed, Caleb ended the call. In the afternoon, light, he made his way back to the shed. Do not pack, not to bid farewell, simply to complete what he began. One day, as he crafted his own machine, he aimed to ensure it would never falter during someone else's significant moment. Yet, Caleb remained, unaware of the vast journey his name was destined to undertake, and for how long people had been observing. Half a year later, Caleb Morgan found himself beneath the glaring fluorescence of a green core testing bay in Flagstaff, Arizona. It bore no resemblance to the fields of my homeland. Arid atmosphere. Crimson, earth, an expansive sky that instilled a sense of insignificance. Yet within that hangar, Caleb loomed large in presence. He had moved beyond the role of an intern. The child wasn't the one who repaired the harvester. He possessed a desk of his own, his personal badge, and above all, his personal concepts. The prototype that was under construction. It lacked perfection, far from it. Yet each line of code, each wiring reroute, each enhancement to the technology that contributed to the machine's growing intelligence, somewhat more robust. That was indeed him. He maintained a low profile, completed the task, spoke at the crucial moments. Darius honored his promise as well. He supported him even when the seasoned engineers expressed their skepticism. When someone attempted to alter Caleb's schematic without permission, Darius swiftly put an end to it. Upon returning home, Ezekiel left the shed ajar, continuing to work, continuing to refine, continuing to respond to Caleb's late-night calls whenever there was an issue in a system loop. Then, one morning, an email arrived. Topic: request for a feature piece. Caleb Morgan. From communications with the board. Green Core. They aim to share Caleb's narrative. Public relations naturally utilize his name, his history, reveal how Green Core discovered the future of innovation nestled in the heart of America. Caleb lingered with it for hours. He took his time to respond. At last, when he spoke, it was just a single sentence. You overlooked me. I stepped inside. The narrative failed to unfold. Instead, Caleb requested something different. Financial support. Not suitable for him. For a creative endeavor. A device priced at 1/3 of Green Core's fee. A solution that small farmers, genuine ones, could manage financially. Straight to the point. No polished appearance, simply straightforward purpose. They declined. Caleb decided to dive into it regardless. Evenings, days of leisure following the conclusion of the day. He referred to it as the red clay model, a subtle acknowledgement of the soil in his shed back home. Whispers began to circulate, silently, by connecting with individuals rather than relying on media, growers conversing with fellow growers, professionals engaging in discussions with vendors. And then one day, unexpectedly, Whitmore reached out. Caleb hesitated before responding. He allowed it to slip into voicemail. Yet, his curiosity proved too strong to resist. At last, he answered the call. "Caleb," Whitmore stated, his voice rigid, "it still pained me to be the one seeking answers. I came across your side project." Caleb stated it was not a side project, merely an endeavor you chose not to support. Whitmore allowed that to linger. "I wish to obtain a license for it. Integrate it with Greencore." Caleb replied with a flat tone. "No." "State your fee. This item is not available for purchase. Our platform has the potential to expand your market reach tenfold. I aim to connect with those you overlooked." Quietude, then Whitmore posed an unexpected question. "What action would your father take?" Caleb acted without a moment's pause. He'd remarked that I was squandering time conversing with someone who only appears when things are already in motion. After that, he ended the call. A year later, the red clay model made its debut at a county fair in Tulsa. This is not a technology conference, not a refined exhibition hall. Merely an arid expanse, paper streamers, complimentary hot dogs, and genuine individuals. And yet the news spread. A queue of eager buyers encircled the field. Ezekiel was present, perched beneath a modest tent, cradling a styrofoam cup filled with sweet tea, observing his son articulate the intricacies of the system to an elderly gentleman clad in overalls who lamented his inability to purchase new equipment for more than 10 years. "Did you create this?" the gentleman inquired. "Indeed, sir," Caleb replied, "created with individuals like you in mind. No media coverage, absolutely no cameras allowed, only honesty." Under the starlit sky, Ezekiel and Caleb found themselves side by side at the fairground's edge. The lights are fading away, individuals gathering their belongings. "Are you feeling proud of it?" Ezekiel inquired. Caleb gave a slight nod. "Indeed, it's more than just the device, the concept that drives it forward. It's essential that you are not due to its effectiveness, yet it was your recollection of the intended recipient that made all the difference." They lingered in quietude following that moment. Not uncomfortable, lightweight, sufficiently adequate. A silence that whispers rather than shouts. It conveys a message. We frequently pursue achievement, believing it resides in prestigious titles, lavish offices, or individuals clad in costly suits. Yet at times, it's those wearing worn-out footwear, repairing matters out of genuine concern, not for recognition, not seeking the spotlight, who transformed everything. Keep that in mind the next time someone suggests you're merely a child, or perhaps from a humble location, or perhaps it simply doesn't align. Take initiative without seeking approval. Construct it regardless.